Hello guys, Ivan KV is here and welcome to Shark Numbers. FTX, Alameda Research, market crash, more scary news, more scary thoughts. We tend to think that one particular event somehow magically determines the overall direction of the market. We tend to freak out when we see upsetting news, and we tend to be irrationally optimistic when something good happens. We are forgetting one important point, though. Scams and hacks happened in the past. People lost money back in 2017 and even 2012. Short-term market changes do not negatively affect the overall trajectory of crypto assets. And I'm not the first person who has come to this realization. Back in the early 1900s, there was a guy whose name was William Delbert Gann. He was not an ordinary guy. He was both a trader and an astrologist. Gann believed that the world is all about cycles. Our lives and our existence come in cycles. And everything in the world reacts to these cycles. There is a cycle of war, there is a cycle of peace, there is a cycle of prosperity, and there is a cycle of disaster. Within each large cycle of success and failure, we have smaller cycles of success and failure. Longer cycles consist of shorter cycles, and those shorter cycles consist of even shorter cycles. Gann argued that all market activity has historical reference points. By studying ancient geometry and astrology, Gann managed to discover that market events and specific numbers repeated across time cycles, and Gann came up with his indicators that were based on the discoveries. If we look back at the Bitcoin chart, we may notice certain cycles that are repeated over and over again, regardless of events that take place in the world. The price of Bitcoin dropped on certain days and rose on certain other days. The first cycle of 2013-2014 is followed by the second cycle of 2017-2018, and finally the last bullish cycle of 2021. Each cycle is spread apart by 3 years, and this number is exactly what Gann mentioned before the concept of crypto was even invented. It's just how the world operates. Each of the cycles looks similar. Each of the bullish cycles looks similar, and each of the bearish cycles looks similar. Don't forget that throughout those periods of time, there were unpredictable events such as the Mt. Gox hack, an event that took place back in 2014. Then there were some of the biggest cryptocurrency thefts, which included Bitfinex hack in 2016, NiceHash back in 2017, Coincheck and BitGrail back in 2018, and more. There was a random DAO hack with Ethereum. There were a number of unpredictable geopolitical conflicts and tensions, and there was a pandemic that popped up out of nowhere. And still, market patterns kept repeating themselves on certain days and certain times. In other words, no matter what's happening in the world, there are higher powers that determine the outcomes of certain things and events in our lives. These are just cycles of life that take place in every activity of our existence. By counting days, Gann argued that the majority of trends occur in periods of 3 days, or 3 weeks, or 3 months, or 3 years. Remember that Bitcoin cycles are spread apart by 3 years. Gann saw the calendar year of 365 days as an important cycle, one which creates a circle of 360 degrees. The circle of a price chart creates angles of 45, 90, 120, 135, 180, 225, 240, 270, 315 and 360 on which to plot and predict trends. Gann also paid attention to trends in 60-year or 90-year cycles. Gann noticed that the war period in 1869 created panic and was followed 60 years later by the greatest bull market, and another panic in 1929. What's interesting and shocking is that 1 year prior to the panic, Gann predicted the end of the great bull run of the 1920s. Gann also predicted a potential financial crisis in 2019, which happened way after his death. Gann managed to predict the future accurately, which makes us believe that at least some part of his theory is correct. And just to prove how successful Gann was, back in his early days, Gann earned his credibility by putting his skills to the test. Because there were skeptical people who did not believe in his technical analysis and theories, Gann decided to prove his point. At some point, Gann managed to make $25,000 in profit with his initial $300 account, and this happened in only 3 weeks. And that was back in the day when markets were not as busy as they are now. There was a lot less liquidity, so trading was obviously a lot harder. So now let's go back to where we are right now. A lot of crypto companies that seemed to be legitimate just a while ago crashed into oblivion. We saw this with Celsius Networks, we saw this with FTX. I will not be surprised if more bad news comes these days. It's just a cycle that we hit, and the cycle will last for some time, but don't forget what comes next. What comes next is a massive, massive bull run. Many of you are probably already discouraged from getting crypto, and it's a sign of bear market. There is nothing new about it. Back in 2020, when I personally predicted a massive bull run and I shared my observations with you on TradingView, you can take a look at my prediction here. Prior to that, I had a lot of hatred from people who lost a lot of money in the previous cycle. And this will happen again. In my view, about 95% of people, of retail traders, will be discouraged from entering the market again. The majority of people who lost money will not talk about crypto, and it will be a taboo topic in houses, and only the top 5-10% of those who are faithful, who are patient, will see the bright light once again. But this will not happen overnight. Anything great requires patience and dedication. Bitcoin price still has the potential to drop down to $10,000, and I told you about it in one of my previous videos. The market is flat right now. Bitcoin price may drop a little lower, but the overall market situation is not going to change much. We are in a bear market, and we will be in a bear market for some time. And right now is the perfect time to fill the bags with coins that have potential. When everyone is crying their eyes out, it's time to prepare for an upcoming bull run. It's time to diversify a portfolio, to get cryptos with high potential. It's not the time to sell. It's not the time to panic, because we buy low and sell high. So let's wait until things get more stable and the market recovers once again. Let's be prepared. I'm done for now. I'll talk to you soon. Ivan KV out.